welcome back to The Truth Hurts. I'm Jake Duesenberg. We expose corrupt politicians, lying corporate media here. Joining me today is MAGA Jesse. You're looking good there, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Real
You
good.
know, I am a little disappointed today, though, because I'm not sure if you guys have heard the news, but rest in peace to Diamond of Diamond and Silk.
I
She
didn't.
has just passed away. I've always loved those videos. It's a tough day, though. I mean, they were two energetic ladies, and they were a lot of fun to watch, so rest in peace, Diamond. I'm with you.
I definitely enjoyed her, yeah.
Yeah,
Was she
absolutely.
the longer hair one or the shorter hair one? Do you know?
Hers was the longer.
She was the
I think.
longer-haired one. She was the Diamond. She was the one that would say the hard punch lines, and then her friend there would go, Yep.
Yeah, I know.
They're a perfect combination, Diamond and Silk.
Joining also is William. I'm not going to ignore this comment, but I want to introduce young William, straight-laced William, although a little dressed down for the occasion today.
Last time I was dressed down, apparently, as well. But it's been a while since I've been in the same room as MAGA Jesse, so it should be a good show.
It's been a long time, that's for sure. In the control room, we have Bridget reading your comments. Let us know where you're watching from. There's Bridget in blue. She's not wearing blue at all, but it looks blue because Dawson, who's in the back, loves his lighting, his special lighting. So we will read your comments live on air. Haters, trolls alike, doesn't matter. We'll have fun with it. Yeah, you know, the thing about Trump is, you know, at the beginning I was skeptical of Trump. Today, my feelings in Trump are like, did he really drain the swamp? Obviously not. But the thing about Trump was he ignited this really passionate base of people, and I thought Diamond and Silk were like this, like the quintessential patriotic Trump supporter. And
Emblematic, right.
Yeah,
they're
and people that don't
emblematic.
like that, it's like, oh man, I don't know if I can get along well with you.
Right, it's fun, you know.
Yeah.
They were always fun, so it is disappointing to see, and you know, their energy's still with us today, but it is unfortunate to see Diamond gone.
So, you know, talking about being tough on Trump was wrong about one thing. It was let's go to Washington D.C. on January 3rd and just let Mike McCarthy. I keep doing that. Mike McCarthy, the former Packers coach, now Cowboys coach. Kevin McCarthy, not Kevin Hearn, right? Kevin McCarthy. Yeah, we should just let Kevin McCarthy become the speaker. No concessions or anything like that. That was Trump's position. But a couple people, a lot of his loyal supporters in Congress, like Matt Gaetz, had a second idea. And what they decided to do was, let's hold up the speaker position because, quite frankly, Kevin McCarthy is a rhino establishment shill. And so this went on for a week. We broadcasted 4 days in a row at 11 a.m. live commentary on these votes. When we left you on Friday, it didn't look like a deal was in sight, but they did adjourn till I think it was 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. our time, right?
Yep.
I called up Jesse. I'm like, hey, Jesse, will you I was out for dinner, right? And I was like, do you mind updating the spreadsheet while I'm gone? Because, like, I can't believe this thing's going down. And so the vote comes up, and essentially the 6 remaining conservatives still don't give McCarthy the vote, and things erupted. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this. It's fascinating. There's at one point Mike Rogers has some words for Matt Gaetz, and another congressman mutes him. Kevin McCarthy.
I could never take that level of disrespect. If somebody were to put their hand over my mouth, I can't believe that he just took that. But I did hear Matt Gaetz this morning. I was listening to the radio and heard him say that he is still going to be able to get along with Mike Rogers, even though that they just had that moment of butting heads. They are both on the financial services the Armed Services Committee.
Armed Services.
Yep. So Matt Gaetz says that they'll still be able to have a cordial working relationship, and that he forgives him. So Matt Gaetz, he's the bigger man here.
Well, and he apologized too on Twitter, at least.
Who did? Rogers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
I didn't see
No, he
that.
acknowledged that. Yeah, they had a good working relationship, and he lost his temper. And Matt said they forgives him, so they're all buddy now.
Now,
All
the
right.
big controversy, we don't have any clarification what happened, is all of a sudden there's an image of Dan Crenshaw on the House floor with bloody knuckles.
Yeah, punching drywall.
Speculation here? What's going on?
Laura Loomer thinks he was drunk on the House floor.
I got a buddy. I'm not going to say his name. He's a great guy. And he says he would gladly run for the legislature if you could just be drunk. He's like, that's the only way I would do it. I'm like, yeah, that's a fair point, and I do think it happens, honestly.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
I mean, Nancy Pelosi. I mean, just look at her; she looks drunk everywhere she goes. So I'm
well,
sure
that's the thing is they might not be drunk, but they're hopped up on some pills.
Oh yeah, they're sneaking it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what's the difference, right? You might be on OxyContin, and you might as well be drunk, right?
Mm-hmm. But one thing you said was that Trump was against this move. That's not necessarily the case. You know, Trump was telling them it was very
explain
healthy.
the 4D chess for us, Jesse.
Well, you know, ultimately they did support Kevin McCarthy. That is what even these conservatives
they
did.
allowed it to happen. They voted president.
14 or 15 of the 21 that were holding out did support Kevin McCarthy. In the end, 6 of them voted president. Trump always said this was a healthy debate. It's important to have, and Trump likes the concessions that were made. You know, Trump is completely fine with seeing our government becoming constitutional. But the author of the Art of the Deal,
Jesse, literally wanted them to cave like midweek.
Right,
First of all, he wanted Kevin McCarthy not even have to deal, and then he wants him to cave midweek. And this is the author of Art of the Deal.
He's bringing loyalty in from Kevin McCarthy too. I mean, Trump is trying to run for president here, Jake. He's got to work with the people he's got.
He needs to win the primary first, and he's not doing any favors for his conservative base by giving it.
You know,
Kevin
Trump
McCarthy.
very rarely ever supports what the establishment is doing. So when he does it, we have to understand he's doing it for a purpose. He's doing it for a point. And in this point, he was supporting Kevin McCarthy because Kevin McCarthy is going to support the Trump agenda. He's proven it before. Trump understands him. They get along.
Didn't Kevin McCarthy vote for the January 6th committee to form?
You know, I'm not sure about that. And obviously, we didn't know how.
We fact check that?
That is a good thing to fact check. We didn't know how political that thing was going to become and one-sided. Obviously, a lot of people from the beginning figured it was going to be. Well, sure, but
Did I know?
That's not the way that it was presented at first.
You know, the other interesting thing, and do you have that article by us on actionforliberty.com? Yeah, pull that up too. You know, the other fascinating thing is how Fox News has come around now. I was watching Matt Gaetz and Laura Ingraham. It's just hilarious. They were so anti this move, and now they're like, a lot of our base kind of liked what they did. So they're like, I think Newt Gingrich did a 180, and Laura Ingraham certainly kind of did. So
well, and I think a lot of people misinterpreted the move. Even we thought that they might try to get rid of Kevin McCarthy full out, but that wasn't the move. They were getting concessions out of him.
Well, you either get rid of him or you get concessions, right? I think that was always the play. I don't think they were disingenuous about it. I think
Matt
really
Gaetz always said, though, I am never going to vote for Kevin McCarthy.
And he
said in his final nomination speech, he said, Kevin McCarthy does not have the votes today. He will not have the votes next week, and he will not have the votes next month. He obviously changed his tune on that. I still like what Matt Gaetz did, but you know, a lot of people thought they were trying to take Kevin McCarthy out outright. And who does that leave next? Steve Scalise. Steve Scalise is even a bigger rhino than Kevin McCarthy.
We don't know. We have no idea if they would have coalesced behind him. The thing is, Kevin McCarthy became Speaker not because he achieved 218 votes. He became Speaker because the denominator changed. How many present voting, which is all that matters, changed. And I think he won with 216, I want to say. It was
216 to 212.
Because 6 said basically we're not going to be part of the denominator. Pull up our article again there, young Dawson. This is, I love that image, right?
Yep.
That just says it all. So as you guys know, let's scroll down here. There's 15 ballots total, and we have, I should hyperlink to our ballot tracker.
I think I did hyperlink in there.
Is it hyperlinked on there?
Yep.
Where is it?
Where it says we tracked here.
Oh yeah, click on that real quick. There you go. That's the whole speaker vote. There's one in red. I wasn't sure. We didn't get an audible of Paulina Luna saying that, but it sounds like she did vote that way. So yeah, they didn't start fracturing, and I shouldn't say fracturing. I don't think they fractured at all. It sounded like McCarthy had some huge concessions on Friday, and that's why everyone went for McCarthy. The 15, I think it was. The one thing that was really bizarre was Victoria Spartz. Like, why was she voting president, and then she goes back to McCarthy? What a weird move. All right, go back. Go back there, Dawson. So what did they get out of this deal? And this is what was so funny to me is conservative media just got this all wrong. This never would have happened if these guys didn't stand up. So scroll down here. We got a list. We had Jesse put this together. So first of all, it's called the Jeffersonian motion, ability for a single member of Congress to motion to vacate the chair if the speaker does not fulfill campaign pledges. A little history behind this. Essentially, this has always been the case until John Boehner was threatened with it. I can't remember if it happened under Paul Ryan or Nancy Pelosi. It was one of the two, and then all of a sudden this thing went away.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
it was
think
always the
Pelosi's
case.
the one who got rid of it.
What's that?
Pelosi's the one who got rid of it.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I think what happened was Boehner was threatened. This is why he ended up, not what? How did it go? Not running for speaker again, and then that led to Paul Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, so I think that's an interesting one. It does kind of force his hand, and this did change. This actually did pass in the rules, so the rules have already passed in the House.
Yep.
I was actually kind of surprised by that. I thought there'd be a bigger fight against the rules because a lot of moderate Republicans were pissed off by
like Crenshaw.
the rules. Yeah, Crenshaw, Tony Gonzalez. I think he's a newbie, but he was the lone Republican to vote against him.
On the House Rules Committee or what? Or on the floor?
On the floor.
Oh, funny.
I believe it passed on the floor, right?
Well, of course it
Well,
passed on the
yeah,
floor.
yeah.
Democrats were all against it. They thought this was too extreme. All right, next one. Forced votes, term limits, border funding and protection, and a balanced budget amendment. Now, now forced votes are good, right? Because it shows which rhinos are needed to be primared.
Yep, it puts them on record.
Right.
Yep.
Not that there's any. Most of us don't think that this is going to end up passing because you do have Biden and you have the Senate run by Democrats. But a forced vote is still pretty damn good. So that's a pretty big concession in my book.
Yep.
Remove all COVID vax mandates and restrictions. So are they referring to the U.S. Congress or are they referring to anything that's on the books
Right. They're
for
talking
us?
about the military. They're talking about anything within the government. So there's a lot of big moves to be taken
funding
there.
for anything related to that as well.
Right, and I think
that's the big
there's
part.
also they're against the masking for the airplanes and transportation and things like that. So we could see a lot of those requirements gone too.
There you go. I'm sold right away. Provide more single subject bills, less onerous bills, and strictly enforce amendments to be germane. And so, good in theory. Now, Minnesota actually has, in Article 4, Section 17 of the Minnesota Constitution, a provision that says all bills must be single subject, and they still don't follow it, and that's in the Constitution. So, good rule change. Who knows where this goes? This is U.S. Congress. It's one of the reasons I'm kind of against this whole Convention of States movement. I shouldn't say I'm against it. I just don't think it'll result in anything big because, quite frankly, a balanced budget amendment, we have balanced budget amendments in Minnesota, and they just bond on the side. They're like, oh, that's separate. We're not a deficit spending. We're bonding.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's what it is. It means it's not like, oh, we're not spending more than we take in at home. We this credit card debt. Just ignore that. That's credit card debt. That's
Right.
that's our personal bonding bill. That's what I should say to my wife. Just go, you know what? We're good. We're totally, books are clean. I'm just doing a bonding bill over here with American Express.
Yep.
Next one, no increase in debt ceiling in the next federal budget agreement. Now, this one's
huge.
fascinating.
Yeah.
This is the deal that I think will not work in the end. And then what happens to McCarthy. But at least he's going to have to fight for it a little bit more, right?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that's catastrophic. That basically shuts down the government. And when you shut down the government with the federal government, it's really not a full shutdown. Actually, with the debt ceiling increase, is it? Maybe that is the backdoor way to do it.
Wasn't this like the fiscal cliff everyone was screaming about back in 2012?
Yeah, and you know what? It's back in 2012. You're right. They stopped doing that. That's the problem with Washington, D.C., is Republicans and Democrats alike, since the Great Recession, where we were all worried about money printing and debt, you stop seeing it. They just continuing resolution. I mean, they don't even pass budgets. Continuing resolution after continuing resolution, the same old crap all the time. No fiscal restraint. That's why we have $32 trillion in debt. Last one is 72-hour requirement for members to read the bills before they can be voted on. Okay, so this is the point that I was making last Friday. The fact that they needed concessions like this, which are so common sense and so mainstream, means that Kevin McCarthy's a rhino establishment shill, right?
Right.
And he needs to be opposed. This shouldn't be a concession. This should be his agenda from day one. But it wasn't. And so that, to me, says that this whole move was great. And then Matt Gaetz, and probably the most baller comment I've heard in the U.S. Congress, goes, we ran out of things to ask him for. So apparently got all the stuff. And McCarthy, oh boy, he had his family up there at midnight because it eventually swears in at like 12:30 in the morning. It's like, this is painful for him. This is really painful. They made a motion to adjourn till Monday. And then all of a sudden, they must have made some deal with Rosendale and the others to vote present.
Well, so I heard that Trump got involved at that point.
Yes, he did call
And
Marjorie
what-
Taylor Greene.
and then Matt Rosendale ignores the call, but which I think is
another
a great
baller
picture.
move, right?
But Matt Gaetz flips his vote, right? Initially, he had voted to adjourn, and then he goes up to the McCarthy and then says, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? I have no idea what Trump did behind the scenes or why they all of a sudden agreed to come around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, according to Gates, there was some final thing that they got delivered. I think it had probably something to do with the Rules Committee, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they got seats on the Rules Committee.
Yep, and also they are planning big-time decreased funding in the Ukraine war, so that was also another thing that Matt Gaetz and others were pushing too. So could have been that. Could have been several things.
So we don't know what it is officially.
I don't know.
I think they need to be more transparent, but really we don't. I think we should try to get Matt Gaetz on the program to see from his own mouth what it is. Fox News is watching them on Laura Ingraham, but you know those things are well. First of all, they get like a 5-minute segment, so we gotta get going. You know.
And I had an interesting interpretation of the phone call that we're talking about with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump on the phone. I think Matt Rosendale was right to say, "Don't ever do that to me again. You're not allowed to come up to me, stick a phone in my face, and tell me that you got Trump on the phone." And Trump trying to convince me to do something else. Obviously, Matt Rosendale's his own man. He can conduct himself the way he wants to. This was a good move. They got major concessions out of McCarthy. They're going to make Kevin McCarthy a better speaker than John Boehner and Paul Ryan ever were. So we are seeing an improvement in the House.
But hold on.
Okay.
Are you saying that Trump made the wrong move there?
That's
No,
what I
I'm
was
saying I'm saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, but don't you think this was Trump's move? He's
I'm
the
sure
one
Trump
calling
tried to get through to Rosendale.
Oh,
and
I'm
then
sure.
He
You don't
couldn't.
think
So then he
MJT
calls-
is calling Trump and he's picking up? It's the
No,
other
it's
way
the other way around.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, give me Matt Rosendale. Pull up Twitter real quick. Can you pull up Twitter? Marjorie Taylor Greene, I want to show you this tweet here. See, she's the big loser in this whole battle.
Yeah, she literally gained nothing unless she gets some sort of special committee seats.
Well, now
Yeah,
she has
but-
committee seats that she didn't have before.
But she
Yeah,
could have
but-
gotten it if she held out and demanded it as part of the
we'll see.
concessions.
Scroll down here.
She just looks
Keep going down. Keep going. Keep going. She goes up, and I was watching this live, and yes, I was up at 12:30. I guess it's Saturday morning, watching Marjorie Taylor Greene go up to Kevin McCarthy to get her selfie, and then she posts the tweet.
Oh, you're gonna have to keep scrolling for a while, I think.
Oh my God, does she really post that much? Oh, there you go,
Oh,
right there.
there it
Go
is.
back. Well, there. First of all, there's the photo.
Yep.
It was the perfect phone call, and that's Matt Rosendale going, nope. Donald Trump not taking that call. Love it. That's great.
You
And
were
then-
just saying that you wanted to talk to Trump. You know, if you'd love the
I
opportunity
know,
to talk
but
to
to-
Trump, it's
to-
not good to dismiss the call. Obviously, what he should have done is said, "Listen, Mr. Trump, I understand what you're arguing for. Ultimately, that's what's going
You
to
just
happen."
said it was a good move.
What's that?
You just said it was a good move for him to ignore the call.
No, I'm saying he could
He's
say.
4D chessing
No, I'm
himself
saying
on it.
no. What I'm saying was a good move was the move to try and make the concessions of McCarthy. What he should have done is said, "I've got my own plan. I've got my own moves ahead. I still respect you, but this isn't the way to do things." And Marjorie Taylor Greene shouldn't have been running up to him with the phone. I still like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's a truth teller. She says things that no one else will say.
You like this though? Look at this. This is we teach this in our class. There's two approaches to politics. One is, a confrontational model, which is you don't try to befriend these people, and the other one's the access model.
and
This is
that's
like
a confrontational model right there.
No, yeah, against the
She's
good guys, that's the
confrontation-
champions.
Well, I'm just
Go
saying
back
that
down
he's the
there.
one
There's
using the access base.
But-
no, go back up to the one
It's
with
a
Kevin McCarthy.
confrontational
There
move
she is.
too.
Hey, we're buddy
That's
buddies.
access. Sure.
Look at that. She's like 12-year-old girl.
But Kevin
too.
McCarthy has her back.
So let me
That's
get,
all that she
let me
can
get this
ask
straight,
for.
though. So you would have been okay with a Kevin McCarthy speakership from the get-go?
That was what was going to happen.
Really?
Well, I think Jesse was he was very on board with this move. So in
Yeah,
fairness
no,
to
I've
Jesse.
fully been on board with getting as much as he can
But
out
you
of
also
him. But
defend Trump's every move. And Trump was really
Not
pushing
every
for Kevin
move.
McCarthy.
I know we actually got. See, you should have been in studio. We got some.
you know,
we
I
got some
think you guys
concessions
can
from Jesse last week. It was
you
great.
guys
Really?
can twist the words to get whatever you want Trump to actually say. You know,
There's got to be some comments on this. Are there any comments about Trump or what's going on with that?
Nah!
Dang. Man, you get...
Moving on. Next subject.
I guess.
Oh man, it's so much fun. Go back to the article. I think I covered every concession that we had here. And I'm dogging on Marjorie Taylor Greene. Obviously, better than 95% of Congress people up there. It's just fascinating to me. She's the biggest loser outside of Dan Crenshaw's knuckles. I think that's the biggest loser up there. Yeah. So those are, and that's, you did this article, Jesse. Do you feel like there was more? Those were just the main highlighted ones?
Yeah, those were just the confirmed ones that, I could for sure say without a doubt that they had agreed to those terms. And I'm sure there's plenty of other things too, investigating the Bidens, all kinds of other investigations and things that we'll see, other bills and promised votes. So
and I can't
think
imagine
that's just
any
the beginning.
Republican wouldn't be on board with that.
Well, there's a great one that they're voting on today. Maybe they already voted on it, but a bill to abolish the IRS and the income tax.
Yeah.
They're bringing that up for a
Is
vote.
that just that one tweet? Have you confirmed that, verified that with another source that they're actually going to do that?
Yeah. I saw a link an actual article talking about it. So it's going to happen.
What was the source of the article?
Well, you're asking for a lot there, Jake. Aren't you?
I know.
Sources.
Well, I like to validate stories. So speaking of which, this is the other story we wanted to cover here. You have a news article. Let's go into the Globe.
Yes.
We haven't been around the world into the let's get a camera view on
Yeah,
that
can we get the
there,
Globe?
Dawson. The Globe. We're going to go into our
There we go.
news from around the world. Actually, we don't have to go around the world. We'll stay right here in Minnesota.
Stay right here.
There we go.
And this is a fun story. So some of you may have even been at the rally at the Capitol last Thursday.
Last Thursday.
Yeah, in support of health freedom. And then the Star Tribune did this interesting hit piece on everyone who attended. Maybe if you attended, Jennifer Brooks has it out for you. And this is from the local section. So there's the opinion section, then there's the local section. So
But this has got to be an opinion piece, right?
Well, it reads like an opinion piece. So, death shot. Anti-vaxxers try out some new losing election slogans. It's pretty charged, if you ask me. Blithely confident that Minnesota voters find... Is that how you pronounce it?
I think it's blithely.
Blithely? All right. Confident.
It's just so smug to start out that way, right?
Mhm.
No one says that word.
Right.
Like, let me throw out a non-wordle word, right? Most of America's in the 5-letter words here.
Right.
By the way, today's Wordle kind of challenging. I
Do
luckily
people
had
still play Wordle?
I'm on a streak, baby. 77 in
Didn't
a
know
row.
that.
Nobody plays Wordle anymore.
Are you serious?
No.
I stopped playing Wordle.
I thought Wordle was based.
Oh my gosh.
I'm the oldest guy here by far. That's why I like having Dale come over here more often. Then I start feeling young again.
You guys start selling T-shirts with your quotes,
Listen,
Jake.
guys,
I thought Wordle was based.
you guys are youngins. People play Wordle, okay? A lot of people still play Wordle.
My mom plays Wordle.
Yes, right. Your mom is about the same age as me, Dawson.
Yep.
So there you go. All
I
right.
think that says more about you than it does us, Jake.
What does it say? What's wrong with that camera view there, by the way? Oh, no, that's the... I'm sorry. I'm looking at
it's
the...
the PDF.
yeah, I see the media. Okay. Go
All
ahead.
right. So she's quoting...
Oh, he didn't want to go back to that hard word again.
Oh, true. I didn't even finish the first paragraph. Blithely confident that Minnesota voters find chaos, cruelty, and misinformation appealing, the anti-vaxxers assembled. It's not a vaccine. It's a death shot. That's from newly elected State Senator Nathan Wiesenberg, who's been on the show. He's a very cool guy. From Little Falls. Said of the COVID vaccine, dozens of people gathered with him in the Capitol Rotunda for a no forced vaccines rally. That nobody asked for this week.
Nobody
Apparently,
asked for it.
Nobody.
Yeah, okay.
Apparently.
I mean, you have Governor Walz basically saying, we will look at that, when referring to the immunization schedule of the COVID vaccine. This is the thing that's got me wondering. It's like Pfizer and Moderna made these record profits, and all of a sudden you look at the vaccine statistics by the Minnesota Department of Health, and no one's getting the shot anymore. So they're probably like, hey, guys, you did a big solid for us in the last 2 years. What's going on? Help us out here. And so it's like, yeah, I do believe these guys might be pushing this.
Thursday's rally leaned into the off-putting crack pottery that helped GOP candidates lose every statewide office and their majority in the Minnesota Senate in the last election. We should maybe start sending people to jail, that's in quotes, for trying to save lives during a global pandemic that's already killed more than 1 million Americans, Wiesenberg added. See the commentary based off of his quote before attributing the quote to him.
Yep.
Maybe we should start with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
And that got some press. So
That got some
Weissenberg's
press.
like, maybe we should
Yeah.
put Governor Walz in jail, which, that's such an extreme statement to make. I don't know. He jailed Lisa Hansen for serving her coffee, right? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, with Governor Walz, it just,
We've already
it's so
crossed that line.
upsetting. It's so upsetting to me the way that most voters look at this. They still think that Governor Walz did the job. I wouldn't say they think he did a good job, but with the information he had. Well, then did we just have better information than Governor Walz? Because we're turning out to be right about a lot of things, right? We were conspiracy theorists 2 years ago. Facebook removed our page, and we've been turned out to be right about a lot of this stuff, which is
Right.
upsetting. So Governor Walz is pretending to understand the science, pretending like that, and then executing on a strategy of dictatorship where it's I govern by fiat, not by what the legislature passes, but by fiat. And this is the problem. And this is why the guy should be in jail. I think if you want to be a dictator in America, you should go to prison for doing that. But apparently a lot of people have got that fog from COVID, and they don't feel that way. And just so you know, it's never like the majority actually truly appreciates liberty. We had a very small minority that wanted the revolution against Great Britain. We wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't be America if it wasn't for that.
Right.
Yep.
Organized by an anti-vaccine group that isn't getting a free ink from me. It's just so smug in
is
the
so
way she
smug.
writes this.
Yeah.
Which group is that so we can give them some press here?
Mask Off Minnesota and the Vaccine Safety Council, I believe are the two organizers behind it.
The January 5th rally featured last year's Republican gubernatorial candidate Scott Jensen, who likened vaccine refusal to cancer patients making their own end-of-life treatment
So an
decisions.
actual medical doctor. Now, is Jennifer Brooks a medical doctor?
She doesn't have a PhD after her name. So
that'd
you
be
know
the,
she
that'd
would
be the
put
kind
it
of
if
doctor
had
she
it.
would be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so here she's shitting on a medical doctor with 30, 40 years of experience treating patients.
The focus of their fury was legislation floated in the state Senate last session by the party now in the majority. The bill would have made it harder for parents to opt their children out of routine immunizations for polio, measles, whooping cough, and other childhood killers based on personal beliefs.
And see, that's a nice sleight in hand. Like, okay, now it's just about all vaccines, which, I mean, granted, I think some of these groups, that is their thing, but we specifically, like, it's the COVID-19 vaccine. It's an experiment. Well, first of all, it's not a vaccine. I don't know why we call it a vaccine. It's not a vaccine. It doesn't create immunity to COVID. Clearly, there's another conspiracy theory we got 100% right. It doesn't create immunity to COVID-19. And some people would argue, some scientists would argue, that actually vaccinating during a pandemic creates a variant that's even more dangerous. And we don't know. We have no idea where this thing's going to go 5-10 years down the road. But the certain thing is the COVID-19 vaccines do not create immunity. People that are getting COVID have the vaccine. That's why a lot of people aren't getting it anymore. Go on. Sorry about that. I assume if she gets to inject opinion in this piece, then maybe I can too, right?
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's what we're doing, right?
That's what we're doing.
Unfortunately, there are those who want to make vaccines a condition of living, said newly elected State Senator Eric Lucero. It is true that still being alive is one of the major side effects of most vaccines. Just ask General George Washington, who had the entire Continental Army inoculated against smallpox.
There's the most
Saving
smug line.
lives like a true patriot.
There's a smug line.
Yes, roll up your sleeves, be a true patriot, get the jabs.
What a smug line. It is true that still being alive is one of the major side effects of most vaccines. Also being dead.
You can tell she's just fuming when she's
Yeah,
writing
I
this
know.
thing.
Right.
Like,
and
she
a lot
just
of people.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, once these people, once they got the shot, they feel like, they have the right to tell other people to get it because, look, I did my part, so nothing bad happened to me. I'm fine. So they feel like they have the authority to push on to other people and treat everybody else like they're stupid if we don't want to follow the narrative and, just like sheep, everybody else. So, the people that do their own thing, they don't have any time for individualism.
You know, the people that write like this usually fall into two categories. One is like the politically connected, the corporate media that's just bought and paid for by Big Pharma. I think Big Pharma is like 75% of all spending in terms of ads. I mean, we all know this. We watch the damn ads on every different kind of drug out there. So they're just answering to the boss, right? And I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of politicians fall in this category. They're just answering to the boss. Big Pharma's a big giver to their campaigns, right? And the big lobbyist. The other camp that talks this way are COVID cultists, and my thought is Jennifer Brooks is just a COVID cultist.
That's how it seems.
It's a religion. I would venture to say she doesn't go to church on Sundays. I would venture to say that. This is her religion right here. COVID cultism. And Sir Anthony Fauci, the patron saint of COVID, is her hero.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy what she's saying. She's coming out there just saying it keeps you alive. And there seems to be some evidence that the vaccines, at least initial shots, may have saved lives. True. It also might be killing people. Lots of evidence there, too. But you're just going to ignore that part. That has nothing to do with anything because you can't see through your blind cultism, your
Jake,
blind
that's
religion.
climate change that's killing people. It's not the vaccine.
That's true.
Don't even look over there. It's climate change.
Yes, that's true.
That's the new narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
fair point.
Do we want to talk about the George Washington bit of it?
I mean,
Because this is an argument that comes up pretty regularly. I think it's a dumb argument.
It's when, people who hate the Constitution try to provide a constitutional argument. It's the people that they don't have any respect for freedom. They're the same people that will look to a historical moment like this when there's an actual vaccine, smallpox, that actually prevents you from getting it, that actually helps the people, instead of this forced experimental drug.
Well, polio is an entirely different kind of disease than COVID-19.
correct.
Like if you are immunocompromised, you might want to get the vaccine because you view the risks versus the rewards differently. But for young people like us, I mean, why should we have to get it?
Yep,
Especially
exactly.
why little children. That's the other thing that's crazy. Why would little children get the vaccine? And the Minnesota Department of Health right now is encouraging. They're pushing it on little children.
Yeah.
All right, we got to talk about this false claim that COVID vaccine is killing athletes. That's the other part. I think it's 2 paragraphs down from where you left off.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I'll keep going here. Back at the rally, speakers called the pandemic the scamdemic. They speculated that maybe it was a vaccine, not an unlikely tackle that stopped Damar Hamlin's heart during the terrifying Buffalo Bills game.
And, we don't know the answer on that one yet. And we covered this on our show on Friday on just how the media are just all of a sudden jumping to conclusions that it's not the vaccine. And it's like, that's a stupid approach to it. You don't know that. We also don't know it was the vaccine. We don't know. But you can't just say it's not the vaccine. We have zero idea at this point, I think. I mean, unless I missed a story today. Because
I mean, the fact that they're defending the vaccine now just starts, I think people might start asking questions, right?
Yep.
Because a lot of these people don't even think about it. They haven't been exposed to the fact that people are getting heart attacks and dying.
Yeah, but
Right.
they don't want to think that either. So they don't believe it. They don't look into it.
Right.
I mean, it could be that there's lingering COVID effects that are leading to people dropping, because there's definitely an issue going on right now. A lot of people are dying more suddenly than has in the past in the history. So this has been studied at least in Europe, and athletes, which probably are still getting boosted. I don't think our athletes are getting boosted as much these days, or at least not mandated. So it could be lingering COVID. We just don't know. But the idea that these guys know it's not the vaccine, well, it can't possibly be the vaccine. It's like it very much could be, right? And so, it's when science can be questioned, right? Propaganda can't be questioned. You guys are propagandists. Jennifer Brooks is a propagandist. She's a COVID cultist. That's what it's a religion to her. It's insane. And there she goes, Star Tribune. Go ahead and
Again,
print your
they
article.
have it as a local news story, not a editorial piece.
Not an editorial piece. Yeah, it should be purely editorial.
The false claim that the COVID vaccine is killing athletes has circulated for years, ignoring all proof to the contrary. Excuse me. You may have heard that one from your angry cousin who won't stop talking about the imaginary microchips and vaccines that he learned about on YouTube.
Well, see, that's at that point, she's kind of got a point there, is because there's some people, like, I guess on our side, quote unquote, I don't know if we should say that, but they go way over to, it's a microchip in your system. It's like, it's not. Okay, so that's not true.
I don't know. I think she's building a straw man here.
Well, yeah,
don't
I
think
know, but
that's-
you know what I'm saying? It's just, fair point. But I'm just saying that there are people that take it to a far extreme level,
Sure.
which are also not true, right?
Right.
That's I feel like in a lot of politics, I end up in this weird gray area. There's the far left and the far right. I don't know why it's far left and far right on this issue, because technically vaccine hesitancy has been more of a left issue. But she's kind of bringing those things. There's another sleight of hand here. It's like, well, we do think there's pretty good evidence that these athletes, certainly in Europe, dying or having heart attacks or heart-related issues could be because they were forced to have the vaccine. That very likely could be the case. You can't dismiss that. There's not the evidence to the contrary. There's the propaganda to the contrary. There's not the evidence to the contrary on that one.
And Dr. Robert Malone and Peter McCullough have both talked about this possibility that because the Buffalo Bills did have a vaccine mandate, the NFL had a vaccine mandate.
NFL did, yeah.
So I'm not going to make any speculation here, but
they kind of had a mandate, by the
have.
way. You could not do it. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, probably the most infamous that resisted it. But there was different protocol, and there was a stigma. And that's the other thing they do. This is a tactic of all authoritarians. This goes back to the Soviet Union. You divide the people and create a stigma around the people, whether it's the Jews or the bourgeoisie. You create a stigma to the people that you want to restrict rights to. And so that there was a stigma against the people that didn't want to get the vaccine. And so then that forces them to want to comply. It's an old trick. All authoritarians have used it for the last century.
Yep.
nobody wanted to sit next to the bitter, conspiracy-spouting cousin at Thanksgiving dinner. I probably would have, to be honest. He sounds pretty
those are the
cool.
best people to talk to. All the people I know that believe in the flat earth, I don't know if they actually do, but they're taking that position. They're some of the most interesting people to talk about. You know who I'm talking about, Bridget.
Mm-hmm.
Our friend, we won't mention him or her.
See, but that's the thing, though. Like, I'm interested in talking to people with different views because I want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
Jennifer here isn't interested in hearing from anybody. She doesn't want to sit next to these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's just the different mentalities we have here.
Yes, and perhaps that's where you could find out the evidence, Jennifer, if you sat next to that cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps that cousin has the evidence that doesn't exist according to you because you're the knower of all information out there.
It's true. She is clearly very smart based on her furious...
First word of the whole article. That's why we know she's smart.
Well, we can't pronounce it, so
Blitherly.
props to her.
I want to say that it just sounds like you have a lift when you say it.
Blither. Fewer and fewer Americans want to vote for the angry, conspiracy-spouting candidate on the ballot. The kind of candidates who would rather block their own party from taking control of the U.S. House of Representatives than admit that the government actually has a job to do. We already covered this.
Mm-hmm.
This year's rally was much smaller and much less heavily armed than the hundreds who turned out for Minnesota's Storm the Capitol rally on January 6, 2021. This had to tie January 6 in there somehow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow.
Yeah, well, I mean, right on point. I'm shocked they didn't bring climate change into it while they were at it.
Well, the article's not over yet, Jake. No one was wearing Trump hats in the crowd this year. Clearly, Jesse wasn't there.
Yeah.
Should have been there. What hasn't changed is that lies won't become truths if you repeat them.
Hey, there's a spoonful of your own what's the word? What's
Your own medicine?
Yeah, your own medicine right there. You know, if you just keep repeating lies, Jennifer, they don't become true all of a sudden. Us conspiracy theorists, who were all conspiracy theorists a year ago, have been proven right on pretty much everything.
That isn't to say we can prove anything. Jensen, a doctor, told the crowd, immediately after suggesting that thousands of people probably dropped dead within hours of receiving a COVID shot. New year, new hats, same message the voters rejected last time around.
Wow.
And then there's a correction. A previous version of this column misstated the year of Minnesota Storm the Capitol rally.
So someone's peer reviewing this article, and that was the only thing they needed to change.
Yeah.
Right. They want to say that's why the GOP lost elections. That's the point she's trying to hit on a couple of times. I don't think so at all. I think what lost it was the division in the GOP and election fraud.
I think that's part of it. I mean, if you do attribute it to the vaccines, like look at Jim Schultz and Ryan Wilson, they didn't talk about COVID or the vaccines really at all.
Right.
And yet they still both lost.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say that's the reason Scott Jensen lost. Fair enough, I guess. Like, he did perform the worst statewide. But I don't think that's the one reason why Republicans lost. There are a
No.
lot
Right.
of factors.
Once again, we're not looking for evidence and trying to state facts here. We're trying to state propaganda, right, Jennifer? That's what you're doing. So now there's 435 comments. I wonder what those comments, I guess it is a strib, so the comments are probably somewhat flattery to her. Between call, Bosch, and the death shot. Yeah, I can't read through these things. Star Tribune doesn't have the best comment section. It's usually just a bunch of left wingers that are, preaching
These
to
are
the
the
choir.
people that pay for the subscription.
Right.
So
Fair point.
yeah,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are
Not a good point, but a fair point.
fair point.
Yeah, fair point. All right, that's all we got for you today. Want to once again, let's show people, Dawson, how they can follow us on Twitter. Right there, action_liberty. Hey, build up our audience. We need more of you guys on Twitter because I believe Twitter's free speech oriented this time. Right, the Twitter 2.0, the Elon Musk Twitter. So please follow us at action_liberty and also hit subscribe. Is it subscribe? Follow on Rumble. Follow.
Oh, no.
You sure?
I thought you were saying Twitter.
Rumble is magnificent, and it says subscribe, and then once you click it, it says unfollow.
So when you subscribe, you're also following, apparently.
Yes.
Okay.
When you unfollow, do you also unsubscribe?
Dude, I don't know.
Do you tweet from Rumble?
No, I don't.
Or do you truth it?
No, I don't unsubscribe from the Truth Hurts. That's the thing. You just stay
Well,
subscribed.
subscribe/follow us on Rumble as well, and we'll be back every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. live from Roseville at the Cherry Tree Studio. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.